myself. Okay, dream so big that they think I'm crazy. Let out the beast, no, they can't tame me. Don't play with me, better mind your business. I cannot stop now, I ain't finished. I'ma keep on going till I got that. Okay, the way that I'ma do it, they can't top that. No way. Critics trying to hate, but I don't talk back, I know that. I know the kid with the bull.
Yo, what's good, guys? It's Tuesday. We've officially made it to meet week. Feeling pretty good overall. Had my last heavy-ish deadlift session yesterday. Worked up to 375 kilos, 826 pounds. Moved well. Haven't really deadlifted too much recently, so I just kind of wanted to push that movement a little bit heavier than I would this last week before the competition. Moved fast. I'm happy with it. I'll probably open around 365 or so. 804, 870, and then something in the 915 to probably 909 to 921 range is what I'm guessing. I'm thinking 915 is kind of the number I have in my head as a safe bet. That's kind of where we're at on deadlift. Gonna hit the last heavy-ish bench session today. Pretty much all done with squat. Had that 782 from Saturday that you saw. Bench, I like to do a little bit higher frequency, a little bit higher, push it closer to the meet. Plan is to work up to 463 for a triple today and then drop down to about 275, just 2 reds, and hit a few triples. Very fast, very explosive. Probably do them as a 6x3 for EMOM set. So every minute on the minute, I'll just start a timer. Once it hits, 5 seconds, I'll set up for a rep or a set. Wait until it's 105 and then, repeat the process. So water load is going well so far. Body weight's seen at 223 this morning, and that's after drinking about 1.5 gallons of water. Today I'm up to 2 gallons. It's gonna be a little bit tougher today just because it is the travel day, and yeah, flying while water loading always sucks, but overall feeling pretty good, excited for the flight. Got upgraded first class, so that's nice. I'll get to kind of lay down and relax a little bit better, but yeah, let's go. Don't have much time, so we're gonna get this workout in and then head home, shower, and head to the airport.
Need to go somewhere. I'm fading in the air. Can't find myself down there. I need to go somewhere to run away. 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 How to wanna go somewhere, someplace not on earth. Can't find myself down there. Need to fly like the birds. To run away. 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 To run away.
All right, guys, so that wraps up the training session. Worked up to that 210 kilos, 463 pounds. Triple, moved decent. I'm pretty much a raw dog in it this workout right now. No pre-workout, no music playing, low on carbs. So I expected 463 to feel pretty heavy. And I mean, it didn't feel easy, but it didn't also feel hard. So I'm excited with where I'm at. It was probably like an RPE 8-ish. 8.5. And yeah, that's right where I need it to be. I think I'm going to open around 220, 485 pounds for bench, move on to like 240-ish for a second attempt, and then third attempt will be something around like 245 up to like 252 and a half. So yeah, we're in a good spot. Basically done with training other than the super light primer day on Thursday, just to, again, like kind of grease the gears a little bit after the flight, get used to training in Dublin. Gonna head home now, shower, finish packing up everything, and head to the airport. Yo, what's good, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Sorry it's been a minute to get this wrap up to you guys. Took some time to get the clips from the videographers, and then when I finally did get them, I was on a work trip. The service in my hotel room was just god awful. I wasn't able to download any of the clips, so I had to wait till I got back. But we're back here in Madison, back at the Penis Palace, and we can finally do this wrap up. So before we get into it, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave any questions you have for me in the comment section below. And as always, if you guys need help with your training, don't forget to check out Proven Strength app. Link for that, description below. We're up to 35 programs designed by Andy and myself, ranging from beginner, intermediate, advanced, 3, 4, 5 day programs, powerlifting, power building, bench only, squat only, and you can follow along with our own training. So go ahead, check that out. Link to that description below. You also get added to our private Discord where you ask questions, get form checks, talk about training. And if you guys are using it, don't forget to tag myself Improving Strength on Instagram so I can share your videos. Clash of Titans 3. You already saw my workout before leaving for Ireland, and then you just saw my light SBD training session. I've talked about this in the past. I usually try and do something 1 to 2 days out. Just real light, kind of reinforce those movement patterns. My philosophy with the taper is to keep the frequency the same, drop down the intensity, and drop down the volume. Come in fresh, but still knowing how to lift, basically. Flew into Dublin, took off on Tuesday night, landed on Wednesday. It was a 3-leg flight for me. Flew from Madison to Detroit, Detroit to Amsterdam, and then Amsterdam to Dublin. Quite a long travel day. It actually ended up being a pretty nice flight. I splurged a little bit and got first class for the Detroit to Amsterdam. Had my own little pod, got to lay down, got a really nice meal on the flight. It was actually pretty relaxing. I was very happy with it. Had a tough time sleeping on the flight just because of the time change. I am pretty used to traveling with work. I fly very often, so that wasn't too much of an issue. The timing of the meet being at 3 p.m. really worked in my favor, where that was 9 a.m. time in Madison. Like, I typically train at like 10:30 a.m. on Saturdays, so right around when I would start lifting. My body was kind of conditioned to be, you know, in lifting mode at that time. So flight over, very easy. Got to ABS powerlifting gym, hit that last very light SBD session, worked up to 4 reds for a couple doubles on squat, 3 reds for a couple doubles on bench, as well as a top single at 400 or 200 kilos, and bench I can kind of push that one a little bit heavier, and then deadlift just work up to a couple singles with 5 reds. Very easy session, just kind of get my body prepared to lift on Saturday. So with the weight cut, I was walking around right around like 101 to 101.5 kilos for most of the prep. I think I talked about how I wanted to do like half a cut. So typically I like to sauna when I cut. I've done hot bath well in the past, but I felt like I feel like when I was doing the hot bath, I was definitely not as experienced. At OSG, when I kind of had that mishap of being a pound over, I kind of panicked a little bit. The plan was to come back and do the sauna for a little bit to lose that extra pound that I needed to after stepping on the scale and being over. The sauna we have takes quite a couple hours to really warm up. Didn't think I had that time, so I decided to opt for a hot bath. I ended up doing, I think, like 2 sessions and losing weight pretty quickly with that. And it felt pretty comfortable. And I kind of noticed a few techniques that I took from like what I do in the sauna and put it towards the hot bath, and they seem to work really well. So I wanted to try out with this competition where, you know, if things were going well, I could just stop the cut, not have to worry about it. There won't be any like repercussions about missing weight or anything like that. So just kind of using this as data points. Did a couple sessions in the hot bath and ended up weighing in 96.1 kilos. I also cut carbs and did like a full water and sodium load as well. Also with doing those, the like water sodium load and everything, that just kind of also helps me time up my refeed. Whereas if I don't cut at all, I almost don't feel like I'm in meat day mode. Ended up doing a few sessions in the hot bath. I did like that session, or I did like that method. So I think with the next time I do 90 kilos, I will probably do a hot bath and then maybe get like a sauna blanket. When the time comes for that, we'll kind of dive into it a little bit more. That said, weight cut went super smooth. Only cut about 10 pounds. Moving on to weigh-in day. Got to the venue. It was very, very cold. I did not plan very well. I did not bring a sweatshirt, and that was a mistake. I was shivering the whole time, especially with like doing the weight cut. You know, your just body is trying to like conserve energy, so it's not, you know, pumping out heat quite as much. One thing that was cool was they had a barber doing haircuts and everything, so that did kind of help pass the time a little bit. Always with the weigh-ins, that last hour between like getting to the venue and actually stepping on the scale is always the worst. It takes forever. But getting the haircuts and just talking to people really helps speed that time up. So that was nice. Again, weighed in 96.1 kilos, no problem there. The issue with the venue being very cold was that it actually constricted my veins quite a bit. And I signed up to get an IV. didn't cut too much, so it wasn't really needed, but you know, if that's one less liter that I have to drink to get back up to weight, makes it even better. Had an IV scheduled because the veins were so constricted, they were having a tough time poking me. And at one point, I think she like kind of nicked the vein, but wasn't quite in it because the syringe filled with a little bit of blood, but in the past IVs I've gone, they didn't seem like it was quite in the vein. She took to the syringe of saline, pushed it in, and I immediately got like a sharp pain in my elbow. I was kind of like, I don't know if this is right, like this doesn't feel right. And she was like, well, there's blood, so it should be in the vein. I guess we'll just put the IV on and kind of see. And I was like, okay, like you're the expert here. Yeah, so she put the IV on and pretty quickly, yeah, something was wrong. I started getting very lightheaded. I actually passed out for a little bit. They took everything out and it took like I passed out for like a couple seconds. I came to, but I was feeling very off, very bad. I just passed out. So yeah, that kind of freaked me out. They're debating if they should try again. I was like, no, I don't want to try again. And so I just didn't get the IV. Thankfully, it was a time when I didn't really need it. Yeah, made the recomp a little bit off. So like I felt a little nauseous for a bit after that. Made it hard to keep drinking and eating for a little bit of a period. And then one thing with the abs meet is it's good from a promotion, but from an athlete standpoint, it's not ideal. Is they have a press conference. So we had the weigh-in, a little bit of time to kind of refeed a little bit, and then roll right into the press conference, which for me, I'm very particular about my recomp where, I'm trying to maximize fluids, electrolytes, carbs, best of my ability for my body to actually like process those nutrients and not just have them sitting in my stomach, but also like into the cells, like getting into my muscle cells so that I can use that on meet day. With the press conference, it just kind of threw the timing off a little bit, especially in like that first like couple hours post weigh-ins where it's very important to kind of get on track. Again, thankfully, not a big cut, so it wasn't as big of an issue, but if I was doing like a 20-pound cut, yeah, I could definitely see that being more of a problem. So just something to consider if when I do abs meets in the future, probably not be able to do a big cut. All that said, everything went pretty smooth after that. Recomp went well, got back up to weight, no issues. Felt strong on meet day. With that, we'll roll the videos from competition and then afterwards talk about all the lifts individually and where my head was at and what my plans are going forward. So enjoy the Clash of Titans 3 and we'll talk about it in a minute. All right, guys, so that was Clash of Titans 3 meet day. Ended up with a 990 kilo total, 2182 pounds, 6 for 9 on the day. Definitely not my best meet. Yeah, so we'll start with my expectations going into the meet. Expectation-wise, it would have taken a lot for me to win. I was kind of coming in with the idea that like there's really no chance of me taking first in this competition. So for starters, there were two things kind of working against me in that aspect. Number one, it's a total meet, not a dots where like I obviously thrive. I was by far the lightest guy. I think the next lightest guy was probably around 120 kilos, so like almost 25 kilos heavier was the next lightest guy. Then number two, knee wraps. So coming from, I think, both the US and an IPF background, for me, raw powerlifting means sleeve. I feel like just the majority of the world kind of sees it that way. I know a lot of the like older guys, especially on untested, they consider wraps as raw. Just with my background and how I kind of came into the sport, knee wraps is raw. It's the way I prefer to train. I just enjoy that style of lifting better. I decided to stick with sleeves. I had the option to do wrap. You know, obviously you do get weight out of the wrap. I think if it's a sleeve meet, I can go head to head with pretty much anyone in the world in total. But wraps, on top of it being open class, just kind of puts me at a very large self-inflicted disadvantage where the chance of me taking first pretty low. Guys like Zach Myers, Nicholas DePries, Justin Zottel, like I can't. It would take like all three of those guys really fucking up for me to take first, on top of like all the other guys that were competing. Expectation-wise, didn't have high hopes, on top of the fact that I was having a tough time adjusting to the Cerberus deadlift bar and all the issues I had with my shoulder throughout prep. So yeah, didn't have high expectations for this meet. Just kind of wanted to dip my toe in international powerlifting competitions, show up on the platform that I said I would, and have fun competing outside the country and like, you know, seeing the world. We'll start with squats. So took my opening squat or warm-ups, they felt solid, you know, weight cut, didn't really cut too much, so I felt pretty much the same as I did on training days. A little bit of nerves, but once I get the opening squat, usually kind of dissipate. First squat, started with 330 kilos, moved well. Unfortunately, I got called on depth. Thing is, with the depth, I knew they were going to be strict. I was trying to be a little bit extra deep throughout prep, and I usually can kind of sink it a little bit better on meet day. That said, I guess I just wasn't deep enough for this platform. Most of the other competitions I've done the last few years, I think those squats would have passed, but that just wasn't the case for this platform. Going forward, next time I do an abs meet, I'll have to just do better. Got called on depth on the opener. It felt really good, so I decided to kind of roll the dice. I felt confident I could take 350, which was the plan second all along. Was able to kind of lose a little bit of tightness in the hole, really like kind of dip my hips down and come up with it, and it felt good. So got 3 white lights. I'm in the meet, kind of breathed a little bit. Decided to go for 370. Again, the 350 felt really good. I felt strong. Went for 370, which was my plan. It would have taken quite a bit for me to hit a total PR. Like I probably would have had to go like 372.5 versus 370 kilos for my third attempt squat, as well as like push my bench and my deadlift a little bit higher than I was feeling very confident on. And because the odds of me hitting like all 3 of those were pretty low, I decided kind of going into it that I'm just not going to PR on this in this meet, but I was hoping to get close to it. So 370 would have got me there. It moved amazing. Like it doesn't show up on paper because I got called for depth, but this was, I think, one of the best squats I've ever hit in a competition. And the way it moved at that depth, which again, I think would have passed at most other meets, I felt confident I could have loaded like 380 and hit that depth. That makes me feel really good going forward. Fortunately, it didn't show up well at this meet, and that's kind of frustrating, but it is what it is. I have to accept it and just have to do better going forward. Again, it gives me confidence for the next competition. You kind of set me back. Moving on to bench, I've talked about in the past few videos, I've had terrible prep for bench. Luckily, in the last few weeks, I've kind of been able to salvage it a little bit with working with Onward Madison and getting the PRP injections with game day to get to feeling healthy shoulder-wise, but I was just, you know, too far off pace to have a good bench session. My range that I was kind of hoping for was 245 to 255. I knew 255 was kind of probably out of range, but I was really like 250 was kind of the number I was really hoping for. Took my opening bench. I didn't get a video of it, but it was 220 kilos, moved well. Second attempt, jumped up to 240. Did not feel the best. It didn't feel terrible, but based on how that one felt, I think 250 would have been too much of a reach, so I decided to go with 245, something I was pretty confident in. I was able to get a little bit better setup. I felt like the liftoff ended up being a little bit better. I was a little bit tighter, and because of that, I felt a little bit more confident going down quicker, more spring off the chest, and 245 felt very comfortable. Based on the second attempt with 240, 250 wasn't there. Based on how the third attempt with 245 was, I think 250 was there. So getting a little bit more hyped helped as well. That said, I'm happy with the 245. A few things I don't like about how abs does the bench. Number one is we're not allowed to have our own liftoff person, which that's a rule that comes from the IPF. I'm not a fan of it. Like the liftoff that we got was okay, but there were a couple of the attempts that just felt like they weren't quite where I like to have the bar positioned at the start. Whereas if I have Andy lift off for me, like he's pretty much perfect every time, and he knows where I like to have the bar and he'll guide me out to it. Whereas, you know, having someone who is lifting off for me the first time, that's just not going to be the case. Yeah, that's just like I feel like it's an unnecessary rule. That's one thing. The way the start commands are a little bit tougher in abs versus like PLU. PLU, the head judge basically just waits for the spotter or the little liftoff person to get out of the way and gives the start command. Whereas at abs, kind of coming from the IPF standard of having the side judges putting their hand down when they see like the butt in contact with the pad. Once their hand's down, the head judge gives the start command. Because of that, waiting for them to give a visual cue, there is a little bit of a delay. It makes the start command a tad longer. I think that kind of comes from the IPF where you also have to have feet flat. I think it just adds like an unnecessary amount of time before you get in the start command. I don't know, it feels like it's not needed. And then finally the head coming off the bench is just another rule that abs does that I just don't see the reasoning for it. Like for me, I, for the most part, keep my head on the bench. It does kind of want to like pop up a little bit. It kind of like floats a little bit. Yeah, I just have like a little fear that it's going to like want to come up. And it's just like one more thing to have to think about during a lift that just feels unnecessary for me. So just my gripes, kind of have to deal with them. That's their rule book. I'll compete on whatever platform is the most competitive. At this time it's abs, and I just have to deal with the rules. But those are my opinions on them. Not a fan, wish they would change them, whatever. So finally, moving on to deadlift. Deadlift training, lean into the meat. I feel like I was feeling pretty good coming off of the cage, and then I had a training session where I hit 898, and I was feeling really good after that. But that session, I did kind of have a little tweak in my glute. Nothing major, but derail a little bit of the training. And then it was just kind of compounded with getting sick, as well as just like some work trips that got really in the way. My deadlift training, it just like seemed like it timed up that a lot of the obstacles that I had kind of ended up being on deadlift days. And it just really threw off the momentum I had coming off the cage. Deadlift, I did not feel super great about coming into the meet, and it kind of showed on meet day. Openers, warm-ups felt fine. Opener, 365, felt fine. I didn't feel like bad, but I didn't feel like super strong either. 395 for a second. Again, felt decent. Was like, all right, like 415 was kind of like, if everything's like feeling great, I would love to go for 415. I was like, you know, the squats didn't go as planned. I just want to hit 410. Loaded that up. I think I got a little bit too hyped, and with that, I messed up my grip. That's the one crux of the way that I kind of do my grip and rip, is that every once in a while, like maybe 1 out of 30 sets, I'll just kind of like misgrip the bar. And for the most part, it happens on like a warm-up set or like maybe like 5 reps or something like that, where if I miss the grip, I can kind of fight through that rep. And then if I'm doing reps, I can adjust the grip for the following rep. And it always kind of like triggers me like, oh shoot, I messed that up. I got to like slow down my setup just a tad. Most of the time it doesn't happen on a third attempt, but unfortunately this is the time it did. Typically I grip with like my pinky right on the edge of the knurling and the saw and the smooth. But when I gripped it, I was like 2 fingers over where my ring finger and pinky were on the smooth. I was able to kind of fight through it for a few inches, but unfortunately it just had too much weight on the one side. I was too unbalanced. A third attempt, pretty much everything has to be fairly perfect, and it just wasn't there. Had to drop it. I think if I had gripped it right, it still would have been a really tough rep, but yeah, is what it is. So unfortunately, end up 6 for 9, missed out on 1,000 kilo total, which is kind of the big disappointment for me. Again, with like not having high expectations, I was, after the meet, feeling pretty decent, especially with like how squats felt. I was feeling like confident about that. My shoulder felt good, even though like the strength isn't quite there. I feel very confident going into the off season and getting my bench back up. And then deadlifts, I'm hoping to never have to use the service bar again. Get to get back to a Texas deadlift bar, my one true love. I'm happy about it. But yeah, I was like, I'm feeling pretty good post-meet. Over the past 2 weeks, honestly though, with social media, it's been a little tough. Just seeing like a lot of comments of like people saying I'm washed, you know, stuff like that. It's tough being someone who's been like for a long time like on the top level, and you know, having a bad meet and getting kind of broken down. So it's been tough to deal with a little bit mentally, kind of bringing down my how I feel about the performance. That said, I have like screenshot a few of the comments. Gonna keep them in a folder and, you know, keep them as motivation for this next meet prep. And, you know, when I have that good meet again and prove that once again I'm the best, I'm gonna probably put those people on blast just because I'm petty like that. So overall, things could have gone better. It's tough because, especially if I hit both the third attempt squat and bench, or squat and deadlift, if not even just hitting one of those, I feel like it kind of flips the narrative of it going from a terrible meet. In my eyes, it still wasn't like a terrible meet. If I had hit those, you know, the perspective of it being a terrible meet versus it being like, oh, you know, he was injured, a lot of prep for bench, things were going to be lower than expected, but it is what it is. Like, he'll come back stronger versus, oh, he's washed, is a little bit frustrating. So yeah, we'll just have to learn from this meet and move on, be smarter about depth for the next abs competition I do. You know, I've learned some warm-up cues that have been keeping my shoulder significantly healthier. Yeah, come into this next meet stronger than ever. The plan going forward is going to run it back with the power surge. This will be my last meet at 90 kilos. I'll probably have to cut down a couple pounds with the squats as strong as they are. Bench, shoulders feeling great. This first week of off season has felt strong bench wise, and deadlift, like I said, I'm back on the Texas deadlift bar, back to feeling good about deadlifting again. I'm ready to come in and just prove all those commenters wrong, just hit something historic at this meet, then fully move on to the 100 kilo class. So we're gonna wrap it up there. Next meet, power surge. We're gonna keep pumping out videos for the off season. I've uploaded my training for the off season 8 week on Proven Strength app. Got a 5-day and a 4-day version. If you want to check those out, link for that in the description below. Again, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave any questions you have for me. We'll catch you in the next video.
We get that fresh glaze on the D-roll.